Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel again. It's Jane here, Card Days Night. 2 YouTube videos in 2 weeks. Who even am I? But I'm delighted to be joining the video Hot with Wow today to celebrate the Earthly Marvels released by Brennan Keane. Let me show you some of the powders here. We have got this blue Mare colour, which is like a lovely sea colour with white bits like the foam of the waves. We've got Aurora Borealis, which is deep blues and greens, which really shine when the light hits them. We have frosted Glacier, which are like light blues and greens. And then finally, we've got this dried lavender, which is like a lovely pale purple with kind of specks in it, just like a dried lavender. So today I'm going to be making some ATCs, which is new for me. So I'm starting off by cutting down some cardstock to 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches. So I've made 4 of those, and then I'm just rounding their corners because I like the finished look it gives. And I love my corner rounder because it's got 3 different settings on it, so you can decide how rounded you want your corners, which is great. If I can find the link to it, I will pop it below. So I'm just starting out by grabbing some of these Nuvo shimmer powders. And the colours that I've got here, I think this is Green Parade. And all I'm doing is just tapping the bottom of the bottle just to get a little bit of powder out. And honestly, a little bit goes a long way. And I'm doing the same with the blue, which I think is Atlantis, and the grey, which is Storm Cloud. But I can't remember the names, but I'll link them below. And then I'm just spraying them. You can either use water or, like I'm doing here, I'm actually adding a shimmer powder just to get a lot of extra kind of shimmer and shine, which is the look I'm going for. And that just moves about all of that mica pigment inside the powders. And it looks really, really gorgeous on backgrounds. So I've heat set them on the lowest setting of my heat gun. And I've done that a little bit at the front and then at the back, and that helps to even out some of the warping, but they are a little bit warped. So what I'm doing is just popping them inside a hardback book, and then I've put that to one side with something heavy on the top to help flatten them out. So while that was happening, I grabbed a couple of my stencils from my stash. The wavy one is a Heffy Doodle one, and then the little semicircles is from Ranger. And I'm using some of this stencil paste, which I'm just picking up with my spatula, and I'm going to pop a little bit through the stencil. I don't want to completely cover my background. I'm just putting them kind of in random little patches. So I've used the wavy stencil on 2 of them. And then for the remaining 2, I'm going to come back with that semicircle stencil. You can use a metal spatula to do this, but I've just got this kind of, it's like bendy kind of rubber spatula, which I quite like. It helps you get in all the little nooks and crannies. But if you don't have either of those things, you could use an old credit card or library card or something, and that also works well. What I will say is when you take them off, make sure to clean up your desk and your stencil straight away, otherwise that stencil paste will probably never come off. So I'm shaking up the first of my powders. Actually, I tell a lie, it's the second of my powders. For some reason, my camera wasn't recording when I put the Aurora Borealis colour down. But I did exactly the same thing, shook up my powder to make sure that any of those heavier elements rise to the top. And then I'm just sprinkling that over kind of random patches on the stencil paste while it's still wet. Then I am flipping it over and just tapping the excess off onto a piece of scrap paper and then pouring that back into my jar. So I've done that with the Mare colour, the Aurora Borealis, and I'm going in now with the frosted Glacier. And I'm just covering the rest of the cards with that. So any space that hasn't already been covered by one of the other embossing powders, I'm just going to make sure that that is all nicely covered. And even though these 3 colours are separate individual powders, they're not sold as a trio or a quad with the lavender, they do still all work really, really nicely together, which is why I've chosen to use all 3 of them on the background here. So I'm just carefully picking up my card with a pair of tweezers, and I'm using the highest setting on my heat tool to set the embossing powder. I'm moving slowly, making sure to get everywhere, and I'm doing the back as well because it's quite a thick layer between the stencil paste and the embossing powder on the top. It's quite a lot that needs setting. So I've done all 4 of those, and now I am going to move on to decorating my cards. So I'm going to use this greeting farm stamp set with the mermaids on it. And I've pulled some stickers from my stash of memory keeping bits and bobs. I don't have a lot, but I have a few of these Happy Planner sets. So I liked these little gold dots that came in this set. Quite often I will do some gold splatter or other coloured splatter on a background, but this was just so nice and easy, and I could just put them on exactly where I wanted it, or where there was a little gap on each card. So yeah, I've just popped a little bit of those gold splatters on each of the 4 ATCs. And then off screen, I have actually coloured in 4 of the mermaids from that set. I'm not going to show the colouring process on this video because it will end up really, really long. But what I will do is I will pop that on my channel at a later date. So if you'd like to see the colouring in of the mermaids, make sure you subscribe to my channel, and I will post that video shortly. Apologies for the background noise, a motorbike just went past the house. So I'm just popping up the mermaids with some foam squares. I'm putting quite a lot on because I don't like any elements on my cards to kind of sag anywhere, but also because there is a lot of texture and dimension on these ATCs. I wanted to make sure that I had as much help as I could get with the adhesive to make sure that those mermaids aren't going to budge. And then I'm going back to my Happy Planner set, to the sentiments page at the back. There are these lovely sticker sentiments. So I am just lining up where I think they want to go, and I realise I'm going to have to do a little bit of sticker surgery here and cut the sentiments apart to make sure that they fit. So that is what I'm doing here, and I'm just popping them on in 3 separate bits. I'm sorry for that little hand you can see in the bottom left hand corner of the screen. I was creating these with my kids also in the craft room, which if any of you have tried to craft with kids in the same room, you'll know how much of a challenge that is. But having added the sentiments on, I know there's a lot of detail and texture and colour and sparkle and stuff already going on these ATCs, but I still felt like I wanted to add a little bit more bling. So I have grabbed these kind of teal pool coloured sequins from my stash, and I'm just adding a few of them on with my gem picker. And I just want to apologise as well for the light bulb reflection on the craft mat there. I put the light on to colour in the mermaids because in England it's dark most of the time. And I forgot to switch it off before I started recording again, so there was that reflection. So I'm very sorry about that. But these are the finished ATCs. I hope you like them. It is very different for me. Anything with a mixed media vibe, and certainly this format of card is completely new. So I hope this has inspired you, and I hope you will hop along with us and check out some of the other teams' inspiration. It is a gorgeous release, and there are so many amazing projects to look at. So thanks again for joining me, and I will catch you all soon. Bye.